Still moving.
Yep.
That's good. Let's see if we can get this stuff acting right. Let's see, is that thing chasing me or not? Yep. Let's see. Hey, Colin.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Good.
Did move up.
I don't know what we got going on here.
Sit on the front row. But that's because I gotta go from either the organ or the piano, and the least amount of time I am upright is best.
Okay. That's working. It's a very good topic. So overwhelming with emotion that we're here to study Turabian formatting. And so I was searching for just a funny video to kick it off, you know, what can I find? I thought somebody somewhere's had to make like a parody video about the pain involved in formatting and bibliographies and footnotes, and I couldn't find one, but I did scroll down. And, you know, in my Google search, it was funny Turabian video. I was just like, there's something has. There wasn't really anything. It was more serious videos. I'm going to do the serious part with you all. But the 8th video down, this is just hilarious. The 8th video down was entitled, "Why Am I Suffering?" and had a picture of Job. So that's perfect. That's perfect. That's all. I just need to tell the story of the Google search. So we all of us who have gone through biblical education, we all have to suffer through the formatting of a research paper. It's just part of it. We all are always just continuously getting better at it. We start where we start, and we just kind of grow. You know, we get more and more used to it, the more and more we write. But
I never was in a position that I've had anybody teach me much about writing.
yeah.
I still have trouble with my name, you know, but no, I just never had any kind of education at all. That's really hard for me.
Yeah. So, and Monica, who wanted to be here today but isn't able, she asked me to talk about one thing, and that's sort of how do we gather information? Let's just start very basic here. How do we gather information when we're sitting, and let me say this, we're primarily talking about research papers.
Right.
Okay. So some of your classes are going to have research papers. Your theology classes probably.
Yeah.
Maybe some of your apologetics classes. When you get up into some of the higher, if you go into the higher level of like the language classes, you'll have like commentary type papers. Although in your English classes, at some point, you're probably going to have to write and show that you can do the format. So there's a number of places where this would come in to play, but it won't be every assignment that you'll have to use this, okay? I'm thinking of Manfred's, a lot of times Manfred has you do a paragraphic evaluation. Well, you don't need to, you probably aren't going to do footnotes on that. You're just summarizing the text of scripture. It's your own, you know, own summary. So there are assignments where you're not going to use this per se. You'll use some of it in every assignment, like a cover page.
Yeah.
You know, or many times you'll have a bibliography. You won't always have to do footnotes. We were just talking about that, but you'll have to do a bibliography. You know, hey, I use.
Explain that topic. Bibliography.
I will. I'll go over that.
About that.
I'll go over that in detail. Yeah,
Okay.
you'll see that a lot today. So we're talking primarily today about a kind of a full-fledged research paper. So how do you start to gather resources that you're going to use to write your paper? Well, the first place you should always start is the syllabus. Okay, in your syllabus, you're gonna have required textbooks. You're gonna have recommended or optional textbooks. And you're gonna have a bibliography at the end of it. And if you're looking for resources that you should use to write your paper for that class, those are probably the ones that the professor wants you to use to write your paper for that class. Okay, so as you start to gather resources, always start with the syllabus. The second thing I would do is ask your professor if there are any additional resources that he or she recommends based on your topic. You know, say you're writing on the tabernacle and
Yeah.
the Old Testament. You know, I've looked through the syllabus, I've got these works. Are there any other books that you would recommend that I should use or that I should look at? And even, is there a particular chapter in that book? I mean, get it narrowed down, right?
Yeah.
So you save yourself the work, right? Ask them. The third place you should look. So you've got those recommended books and those required books and the bibliography books, right?
Mhm.
Guess what all those books have? Bibliographies. So all of those books are going to have a bibliography. Let's see if this one does. No, this isn't exactly the kind of book you guys would use, so it probably doesn't. And Turabian's probably not either because, oh no, it does. Yeah, so she's got a bibliography. All the works that she referred to, okay, she's giving examples throughout this book. She has listed, right, a whole list.
I have that book here.
This is good. This is the, what do we call, we don't want to be sacrilegious. You don't want to call it the Bible for manual for writers, but you know, like this is the book on formatting
Yeah.
in our world. There's other formatting like APA and MLA that you might be more familiar with, but in theological and Bible type of education, Turabian or what's called Chicago style
Yeah.
is the preferred. Okay, so this is the 9th edition. You always want to check and make sure that you have the updated edition. The 9th is the most current right now. So when you're gathering information, to come back to that, look at your syllabus, ask your professor for additional resources or recommendations, and then check the bibliographies of those books on the syllabus. And that'll give you plenty of, you won't need any more information to do a research paper here. That's going to be plenty. Okay. So that's how you gather resources. Okay. The next thing, let's talk about, okay, how do you sit down to write a paper? Now, let me just ask, where do you guys usually start? When you got to write a paper, how do you start?
I start the cover page.
You start with cover page, okay? Let's just make a list here. We might learn from each other here. And I'm gonna guess that not everybody's the same. I'm just gonna guess that. So Johnny said, start with the cover page, kind of here's the title, you know, I'm the one writing it, you know, here's the class that it's for, which we'll go over cover pages in a second. Just start from the very beginning of the cover page. Anybody else, where do you start?
I just start doing free writing on a topic and just let it expand.
Free writing on the topic.
The cover page is doing like that.
Okay, yep. Some people do it last, free writing on topic. Now, let me ask you this, Robbie. Do you do that by hand or computer first?
Hand by hand.
Okay, that's interesting technique. I love to write by hand.
Now, I was taught that in college by
Yeah.
a hippie.
Well, there's something to the learning exercise of using your hand to write that we lose when we type. But the thing is, it takes longer because then you gotta turn what you wrote on paper into the screen, because because of the way Tri-State Bible College makes you turn things in, right? So, but you know, just start writing, okay, just start writing, get thoughts on the page. And then we can shape it up later. Anybody else? What do you do?
I have a cheater cover page.
Okay,
That's like saved,
okay,
and I go in and update it and save it as a document, and that's my first page of the thing, of my paper. But that just tells me where to put the name and the title and all the goop that you gotta put on the
so
cover
you just
page.
duplicate cover page, right? You
Well, I update it and make
Yeah.
it correct and
And then
accurate, but there's a form that
update.
you have to use, right? That's
right.
in the little book.
Yep.
And then I have index cards, if it's a bigger paper, I'll do the index, but I graduated in 1983, I know you weren't born yet.
Yeah. Use index cards.
I use index cards and
Oh.
pre-write some notes and stuff like that, and then I have those. If it's a bigger, I haven't done that in a long time,
Yeah.
that's what I did.
Yeah.
That way I have them, and then once they're done, an index card, you can put them in any order.
Yeah,
You can adjust
Right.
the order, as for a piece of paper, it's
yeah,
hodgepodge.
that's good, that's good. Anybody else? Okay, let me share one thing I do. I typically do not write the introduction first. Because I don't know what I'm introducing yet. Now, that's just me. So I'll start with like the body. You know, so if I'm doing a paper on, I got a paper here that I might get to and show you later. I write on manuscripts all the time. Well, so I might start right into who's the person who's dealt with this manuscript first. So I'm starting right, I'm already into it. I'm starting right there, and then I've got to start and I'm moving along. So I don't start with the introduction. I may start with an outline before I write anything. So I'll put that up here. So not the intro. And then sixthly, start with an outline. That can be a way to get, so, and really, all of these can be tools that you use to avoid writer's block.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta shove yourself out of that, and you gotta do one of these things just to write something, you know. Other things that help people are the setting. Where are you doing your writing? Do you have a place where you can concentrate? I was trying to write on Saturday and my kids are driving me nuts. I said, this is why I can't write at the kitchen table. I gotta move, you know, that's just life. That's
Yeah,
just life,
it is.
you know, so.
Like
Setting,
Gina on number 3, I've got a paper,
yep,
I've got who gave it to me here at school,
yep,
and I use it and I just fill in the blanks.
that's perfect. I do that. I still do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gets me started.
Yeah, get you started. And then, you know, I will write the intro, but I typically don't write the intro until I've pretty much finished the body. And then I'll come back and introduce what I've said. And that way I can, or else the danger is my intro becomes very long, you know, if I just start. Here, okay, now I know what I've written, so I'll just introduce what I've written later. So those are some tips just to get started. And if you're already into the writing, you know, you're not having trouble starting, but you've already written some pages, but now you're stuck sort of in the middle. Some tips are, okay, your setting, do you need a change of setting? Sometimes you just need a change of setting to write. Music or no music. I listen to classical music when I write, or nothing. I can't listen to music with words when I write. I can't do it. I'm too distracted.
Well, you know, there's another song.
So it's got to be classical or nothing, or instrumental music.
Yeah, because I count the beat.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't.
1, 2,
Yeah,
3,
you
4.
So those are some things. Sometimes you just get up, take a walk, just quick walk, and talk to yourself about what you're writing.
A lot.
Yeah.
even start.
Yes,
How I was.
Yep.
in Nursing school, how I was.
yes.
I had to process it all and talk it out, and then I like how I like talk it out. It's like I go through the whole talking to myself for
Yeah.
a long time, and then it'll come out, I do.
And even, one thing is, let's say you had to read a chapter on a topic, and then you gotta write, you gotta engage with that author.
Mhm.
We'll read it, and then whatever your highlighting, underlining, marking technique is, everybody has a different one. My kids always laugh at me, Dad, you're highlighting the whole page.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I'm easily distracted. So that helps me. I'm not always highlighting. I'm just highlighting mostly everything. If I want to remember it, I'll use a pen. That's me.
I use it.
That's
I
it.
underline a lot
Yeah.
when I read.
Yeah.
In the textbook.
So read that chapter, get up and take a little walk, talk to yourself about what you just read and pray or pray to the Lord. Talk to the Lord about what you just read. Sit back down and write. So just some things to help. Those are real small, basic little things. Any other thoughts on gathering material? Let me write, I don't think I wrote those up here, but in case you guys want those. So gathering, what did we say about gathering? We said start with the what? Syllabus, right? So syllabus, what's the second one?
Ask your professor.
Ask your professor, yep. And what was 3?
Bibliography.
Bibliography of.
In bibliographies of the books,
Dr.
right?
Bloomfield is wonderful for a bibliography on the back of his,
Yes,
he just,
yep.
they are, I guess they all are too, but his.
And if your professor does not give you a bibliography, you tell Dr. Phillips. Or you ask the professor first. Let me back up. Ask the professor for a bibliography. Okay, he or she may have just forgotten it. But if they're like, well, I don't really have one, then you tell Dr. Phillips, because that's a problem. This is recorded. Everybody this is real. So yes, but I'm pretty sure all our professors have bibliographies, but just in case, there's your steps. So a little bit on gathering materials, a little bit on writing. What if you on the writing, how to get started?
I would like to eat.
You know what? That's another one. Help, like good snacks while you're writing can keep you moving. If you pot of coffee, even if you got to go decaf, but like just because if you drink too much coffee, you'll get jittery and then you won't be able to write. You'll get distracted. So some little snacks nearby, snacks that you like to eat when you're writing. There's food that's good for your mind. There's food that's not so good for your mind, but you can search that out.
See, the struggle I have is when I sit down, and I tell my Sunday school class this, every time I sit down, whether it's paper, anything to do with the Lord and my Bible, Satan reminds me there's laundry that needs done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
set the timer on the stove for like an hour, however much time I'm gonna allot. And when Satan bothers me, I say, go over there and watch that timer. I'm gonna do this. And I picture him standing there watching the timer on the stove. Because if I'm watching TV, the laundry doesn't bother me. If I'm doing Bible study, the laundry is urgent.
We're gonna put depart from me right here.
Yeah.
Right here. in
And
quotes.
so, and I tell do I not say,
Yes, you do.
I say, I picture Satan just over standing there looking at the timer on my stove.
Yep.
But that way it helps me know, okay, this is where I am in my study and this is what I'm doing. And,
That's good.
you know, I set
That's
a
good.
goal, this is what I wanna have done by this time.
Timers are good. I set a timer from 8:30 to 12 every Saturday morning.
Mhm.
Unless my kids have an activity at 11, which that's about to start again, then I gotta get up earlier.
Right,
So I
to get
shift
that
it
time
back,
in,
so I can get that morning time in on Saturdays, but timers are great. Even, you know what I love to write with is an hourglass. Those are wonderful. Because an hourglass with the sand in it.
Oh, yeah.
It's an old timey timekeeper, but like, okay, I'm gonna write for an hour on this, and then take a break. And then come back, flip it again, another hour.
But that way,
And you're doing, I don't know, there's just something.
and that way,
extra.
if you've got something that needs to be done, you're not worried about
Yep.
what needs to be, you've got
Yes.
that
I'm gonna do
plan,
the laundry and I'm gonna do a load of laundry in and out.
or whatever it is, yeah,
Or whatever,
but, yeah.
there's 30-minute ones, there's.
yeah,
hour
whatever
ones.
you do.
Right. Let me ask you this, what about, okay, let's say you've had a good writing streak, okay? How do you go about editing what you've written? Like, okay, I've written too much here, or I've just, I had a good stream of consciousness going, but like, I can't include all this. And, so what do you do next? Let's say you've written,
I'll go through it and make sure I have it restated.
Read it out loud,
Yeah.
see if you're saying the
Okay.
same word over and over.
okay,
That's the best thing to do, is read it out loud.
read it out loud, I love that.
Because if you're saying the same word so many times, you're gonna hear it. And say,
Yep.
oh, I've been overworked.
Read out loud.
Ask Greg to proofread.
Ask a proofreader. Yeah. Ask a proofreader, usually your spouse or child.
And if you ask your daughter,
Ask a proofreader. Yep, good. Okay, one of the things I would say, if you have a heading for that section, read and keep asking yourself, does this go with what I'm feeling?
Yeah. if
Does
you're
this
not
fit?
going off.
Does this fit? Does this fit? Or is it a square and a circle hole, a square peg and a circle hole, right? That's not gonna fit, so we're just gonna chop that off. And
what does the professor look for in an academic paper? Is he looking for the information? Does he want it to flow like a story?
he's looking for a number of things. So we have rubrics, so we're looking for grammar. And spelling. We're looking for,
I always refer to it as meat and potatoes, just the facts,
yeah, we're looking,
how I write.
yeah, we're looking for, creative and original content, like your content. We're also looking for scholarship, and what we mean by that is, how are you engaging with the resources? Are you just giving me like 7 block quotes? Like big quotes? Or are you having a conversation with that writer? There's a difference. There's a difference between just like giving me a big old quote and you showing me that you understand what he's saying and you're engaging with him. You understand? Yeah. Sometimes a quote's correct, it's so good that you just have to quote. But other times you could probably just allude to what they said and engage with their ideas. You still want to make a footnote to that because you're interacting with their ideas and what they wrote. But there's a maturity level to show me that you are not just quoting, but you're engaging with the author. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they're looking for grammar and spelling, your original contribution. They're looking for your scholarly engagement with the other writers. And then at Tri-State, we're looking for a few things. And that's just specific to us. We're looking for, so we call this theological discernment. Are you putting the right emphasis on the heavier things? Or are you swallowing choking on a gnat, or swallowing a camel, and gag on a gnat, swallow a camel, like making a mountain out of a molehill, right? Are you putting the right emphasis on the heavier things and the correct emphasis on the lesser things? Does that make sense? Are you able to discern the heavier from the lesser? when you are engaging with the Bible, are you aware of the world of the Bible, the context of the Bible? And are you aware of the context of your reader, which is not the world of the Bible, right? So we live in 2025 in Ohio, in Appalachia, Ohio. We do not live in Jerusalem in the year 30 AD. So you got to keep both contexts in mind. You got to accurately understand the Bible in its context, but then you're communicating that to this audience. So we're looking for that. Are you aware of that?
Kind of understand the times.
Understand the times. That's right. So bringing the truth to bear on contemporary life, right? We're looking for, and you know, it's hard to, this is the hardest one to judge, but we're looking for it, and it's your devotion to the Lord. It's hard to judge that, and you know, so we're careful with that, but we are looking for that. We want you to love the Lord. We don't want you just writing a paper to write a paper. So we're looking for, is it evident that Robbie worshiped when he wrote this?
Yeah, great.
I bet he did. I bet he prayed. Yeah, well, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that. Did he, you know, is he recognizing that this is a spiritual exercise? It's not just academics. This is our relationship with God that we're talking about. And then finally, we're looking for competence. So our papers in church history in Appalachia, they had a paper on worship practices in Appalachia.
I don't want to interrupt you, but if I don't, I will forget. Would you be interested in looking at 1854 Family Bible?
Probably. From where?
About
From West
88
Virginia?
With wooden covers. I can bring it to you. The guy will let me bring it to you. It's got all the family names and stuff. Don't let me forget.
Okay, yeah. 1854, that's like beginning era here.
And it's about 8 big.
Yeah.
It's got all the family names in it. It's even got some photographs, some old
Okay.
photographs.
Sure, sure. So, so with ministry competency, I'm looking for, okay, let's just say so-and-so wrote on foot washing. Okay. In a class about Appalachia. Now you notice I said foot washing. I didn't say feet washing. Appalachians don't call it feet washing. We call it foot washing.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but you wash both feet, but we call it foot washing.
But it's one foot.
Say feet washing, that sounds wrong.
That sounds wrong.
It just sounds wrong.
So are you competent? You know, are you competent in, as you write, are you understanding, especially like a ministry practice in context? You know, you know, I'll use Robbie as an example. Robbie, can I share this about your, so he did a paper on snake handling. Well, to really do that, he had to go to the source, and he did. He interviewed a couple of the guys who practiced that through text message and phone, and he actually went down and saw the churches where
I did not go in.
he didn't go in, but he was competent. He actually did the work to have something to say about that topic. So when we have a research paper rubric, those are the things we're looking for. You know, we have the grammar and spelling, your original contribution, the scholarly engagement, and then the TSBC values, and then guess what? Turabian format. So all those things, I think there are 5 things, and they're split up in like 20%, 20%, 20%, and we're looking, kind of grading you on those things. Does that make sense?
When you do a research paper, say on foot washing, right? So if your only source is the Bible, right, so you're gonna go through the history, and culture and all that. And not put your opinion into it. But then if you're writing, say, a commentary on foot washing, you would put your opinion into that. Is that right, or?
So if it's a, here we go, this is a kind of paper, right? If it's a research paper, right, and that's what we're primarily talking about here, we are looking for those things that I mentioned. So we are looking for your contribution, right? But it needs to be a competent contribution, yeah? And it needs, and then secondly, we're looking for your engagement with the Bible. We're looking for your engagement with other people who have written on Appalachian foot washing or snake handling or whatever, right? So we're looking, are you aware of these resources that have already said something about this? So a research paper is that it's not an opinion paper. Very different. It's a well-reasoned argument for a thesis. You know, this is my thesis. This is what I want to say about Appalachian snake handling. This is my conclusion. And here's my argument for that conclusion. Or if it's like a historical reporting, okay, well, here's the historical evolution of snake handling in West Virginia or whatever. So it's a reasoned reporting or a reasoned argument, highly engaging with sources. Now, even if you don't, to talk about sources again for a second, you know, you typically in a research paper, you're going to end up engaging with sources that you don't necessarily agree with. But that's still part of the conversation. That's part of the engagement, right? So-and-so has written that da-da-da-da-da. And in my own research, I feel that. Now I said I feel that, but I also said in my research. So it's, you see what I mean? So it's not my opinion. It's, I've studied this. Here's my proof, you know, here's my evidence, here's my footnotes. And here's my conclusion after looking into this. So does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's some things about gathering and writing and editing. Anything else anybody wanted to add on editing? How you do your own editing? So one of the things I do after I think I'm done, I print it out. This is just me. I print it out, red pen. And I go over it one last time. And then I make those changes on the computer before I send it in, but yeah. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break and then we're going to get into Turabian. Okay, we're going to get really thick into Turabian. So let's take take a bathroom break. There's coffee in there. I think there's some snacks in there, but yeah, take a little break. So we'll get back into it. So let's look first. You guys have some, hey Kim? I told him about the free, I think Johnny already got one. Free book? Did you get a free book?
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him. Kim, hey, Kim's gonna tell you, take those free books. Back your truck in here. Take all the books. We've got more, if you can believe it. So just take all.
I'm building a library with.
On thriftbook.com.
We might have to start selling some of those just because, I mean, I don't know, but there's so many free books out there. We have some sets that are coming, some commentary sets, and so lots of books. Yep. Okay, everybody take out this sheet here, and I'm going to put it on the screen as well. It's the Turabian sheet, and we're going to look at it first. And then we've got at least one other document we want to take a look at. I'm going to share this on the screen. Yeah. Okay. All right, everybody see that okay on, you got your paper in front, it's the same thing, it's just on the screen. So if, a lot of times in my classes, and I've encouraged professors to do this, but I don't know if they do. I encourage them to put this link in there, on the syllabus page, and popularly there's those links. I always put this in my links. So it's a quick guide for this. That's a lot of pages, right? So this makes it simple. This is the quick guide, the citation quick guide. Now you'll notice there's two boxes here that you can click on. There's the go-to author date style and the go-to notes and bibliography style, okay? If you are doing a research paper or anything like it, okay, you want probably check with your professor. If you're doing a research paper, any kind of paper where you're going to make footnotes and go really into the formatting, you're going to do this first one, notes and bibliography style. If you're doing a more creative kind of assignment or an opinion paper or something different, or then you can maybe do the author date style, which is a inline. So like inline means you're writing a sentence and at the end of the sentence you put parentheses, author date, in parentheses, period. Okay, that you can also do that. But that's got to be a lesser demanding formatting paper. Does that make sense? And you always want to check with your professor on this. Both of these are Turabian styles, but what we typically use here is this notes and bibliography style, and that's what you have a print off for. So I'm going to click on that. And what this shows you is just a sample citation guide. If you want to cite a book, well, here's what a full footnote looks like right here. Right there. Okay, these are examples of full footnotes. Okay. If you have already mentioned a full footnote in a paper, the next time you mention that same resource, you only have to do a short note. Okay? You don't have to do the whole note again. You can do the short note. Back in the old days, when I was at Tri-State and in my master's program, we used to use IBID. I don't know if you remember, comma and then the page number. IBID was just reference to the book I just mentioned. And here's the page number. You can't do that anymore. Turabian dropped that, which I don't know why. I cried that day. But at least they still maintained a short note. So here's Katie Kitamura up here. That's the full note. Here's the short note.
Okay, if it was for the note, the footnote directly before that.
Yeah, it had to be directly before.
But this is for
Anywhere.
in the paper.
Anywhere in the paper. Yeah. So it is nicer. So before, when we had IBID or IBID, you had to do the full note. If it was down a bit, you still had to do the full note. But now, once you've mentioned the full note, Sharon Sassler and Amanda Jane Miller, the next time in the rest of the paper, you can do the short note. Yeah. Yeah. So that's nice. You just do the name or names if it's dual author or something, a shortened title, and it just needs to make sense, right? A shortened title. So what they did, cohabitation nation, colon, and then there's the rest. They just took everything before the colon, and that's normal. You don't put a subtitle in the shortened note. Yeah, just the main title. And then the page number. Okay. And again, we're talking about books here. We're not talking about journals, websites. We're just talking about books. So here's the example bibliography entry. Okay. Now, what do you notice is different about this bibliography entry compared to the full note up here? What's different?
Page number.
Okay, up here you've got parentheses. Yep, up here you got a page number. Why do you have a page number here but not down here?
Because your note was coming from that information on that specific.
Exactly. Your footnote on that page of your paper is referencing this specific page in this work. In the bibliography, you're just saying this is the list of resources I use. You don't have to list page numbers. Unless it's a journal article, then sometimes you'll put, these pages in that journal, but we'll look to that. But when it's a book, yeah, you're not gonna put page numbers down here. What about the author name? What do you notice is different?
There's a period.
What's
So
the
it's just
last
author,
first
period.
name?
Yeah, last.
Yep, so this starts with the first name and then a comma at the end. This starts with the last name, comma, first name, period. You're gonna notice the uses of commas up here more between the pieces and periods in the bibliography. Okay, just here and here, but it's just some kind of a feature to notice. All right, so those are books. What if you just are referencing a chapter or a part of a book? Or let's say it's a book with multiple editors. So you have like a lot of Bible dictionaries will have an editorial committee, right? And then the different entries will have different authors. I mean, you could have, in a Bible dictionary, you could have 1,000 authors, right? Doing the different entries. So what if you're doing just a part of a book or an edited book, a chapter in a book? So here's the footnote. Notice the chapter title is in parentheses. That's correct. Okay, this is the title of the chapter in this book. Okay, The Making of the American Essay. This is the author of that chapter. The editor of the whole book is John Diagata. Okay, see that? And then the publishing city. And by the way, sometimes books will have multiple cities. Pick the city closest to you. That's the rule. So if it's in London or Boston, which one you picking? Oh, pick a Boston. Yeah, that's just the general rule. Yeah, pick the one closest to you. And then the publisher and the year, and the note has the pages. Here's the shortened note. See, so notice the shortened note title is the title of the book or the chapter? Chapter, yep. She just took this main word here from the chapter title, dropped it down, page 48. Now, the important thing here is you just got to be consistent. So the next time you mention this note, you're not going to make it narrative. Because there's what's going, the professor's like, what's going on here? Is this a different, you mean something different? No, just be consistent. If you do captivity here, do it the rest of the paper. Yeah. Here's the bibliography entry. So again, the name order. Here's the chapter title, period, in the making of, so on and so forth. And notice they did include the page numbers here because we're just talking about this one chapter. Okay. So on and so forth. To cite an edited book as a whole, let's say you wanted to cite the whole edited Bible dictionary in the bibliography and not just the chapter. Okay, you would include the editors first, not the author, because then you're citing, then you're just citing the editors in the making, or the making of the American Essay, so on and so forth. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's see. She's got a couple of those. A translated book. Anybody working in another language? I don't think we look at that right now. All right, we're still trying to learn English, aren't we? All right, here's an ebook. What if you're doing an electronic book? Okay. Those are cited a little different. Let's say you're on your Kindle or you're on your iBooks, your library on your iPad. Those are cited a little differently than the regular book. It's still very similar, but you can see Kindle's mentioned here, or ProQuest eBury, which is E-library is what that stands for. So you can see it's basically the same as a book. Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice, Kindle. See that? Or whatever the Apple Books thing is. You
Well,
mentioned
what
it
if
there.
you was quoting something that was in your logo software, a book from that, would you quote logos?
That's an ebook. Yeah, logos, yeah, logos right here. But here's the reason. Your page numbers are gonna be different in an ebook compared to the actual book.
Yeah.
So if your professor wants to track down and make sure you didn't plagiarize, and they go to page 444 in the real book, in the hard copy book, and they're like, this doesn't have anything to do with this. Well, that's because it's the ebook.
Right.
So you gotta tell them, hey, I got it from this website, or the ProQuest eBrary or Kindle or whatever. Shorten notes, you don't have to mention all that stuff. But the full note, but again, you don't have to, because if I see this shortened note, I know as a professor to find all the information, I either go up to the full note or I go to the bibliography. So, yeah. If you're referencing a thesis or a dissertation, so let's sometimes in the Tri-State Library, we have unpublished works on the Bible from former professors, like Dr. Marquardt's master's thesis, I think, is over there, and his doctoral dissertation on the gift of tongue speaking. I think all that is over there, but it's never been published. So the thesis or dissertation is how you would cite that. Okay. A lot of times these will be like typewriter printed and bound over in the library. Okay, so you can cite those things. There's just a special way to do it.
Is there a way to cite something that you've learned in a previous class that would have been in a professor's notes?
Yeah,
Or something
professor's
that
notes.
said,
Yeah, I think we'll see that. Yep, yeah. So here's a journal article. This is a really relevant one. How do you do a journal article?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right. So journal articles, you got the author here. Let's look at this shorter one here. Here's the author. Again, with the quote marks, just like a chapter, because it's a short, it's one piece of that journal, that whole journal. Here's the title. The journal title, New England Review. You have to figure out, each journal is different. Do they have a volume number, an issue number? So this looks like volume and issue. Okay, so volume 38, issue number 1, probably the first quarter of that year. That's the issue number. The year, the page, and then if you got this online, which a lot of journal stuff is now gotten online, almost all, I'm pretty sure most scholarly journals are going to have one of these DOI numbers. You want to include that, because that way the professor can paste that or type that, and it'll take them right to the journal entry. So this one mentions a journal clearinghouse, Project Muse, that's what that is. Others might be JSTOR, JSTOR, or Internet Archive. There's all kinds of journal clearinghouses. So here's the shortened one. You can see the author last name, which is fine. The shortened title, the page numbers, and then the bibliography entries. Let's look here at here we are, Peter LaSalle right here. Again, just notice the order of the last name, the use of periods. Other things are pretty similar to the top. Any questions about journal articles? So I'm going to go through faster some of these. So you have the worksheet, so or the resource. So news or magazine articles are here. Book reviews. So here's an example of a book review in the New York Times. So someone read the book that you're interested in, They reviewed the book. That's what you're referencing. So and so reviewed this book, and I'm engaging with that here. And book reviews can be found on websites, on newspapers, all kinds of places. Website content. You can reference website content. What we're trying to do with catch the vision of this. What we're trying to get you to do is I don't want to say it, to be Christian in your writing. Fellowship with the group of authors that you've truly read, right? Give them credit, right? Love them by giving them credit. They did the work that you're engaging with. And whether it was on the internet in a blog or in a book or a book review or news, whatever it is, we're just loving people by giving them credit for the work that they did. And showing that, hey, I've read this, I'm able to engage with this. So website content, notice some things. There's a title. Privacy policy was the name of the document. It was found in privacy in terms. The author's not a person, it's an institution, Google. The last time it was updated on the website was here. And here's the actual website for the document. This one mentions the access date. Okay, I looked at this site at this time or this day. That's important. I don't know why they don't include it up here. You should, I'm pretty sure, always mention the access date. Yeah. Short note, very easy, the short note, right? Google privacy policy. So it's the institution or person that authored it plus a little title. And then for your bibliography, you're here. Well, I guess let's see, no, that's just the modified date. I just thought they had an access date there, but they don't. Audio visual content. Say you're quoting a movie or a radio show like on NPR, or Fox News, whatever, right? There's a way to footnote that and to reference it in your bibliography. Social media content, let's see, there's so many ways to get information these days. If you saw a post from, I'm thinking of Michael Spiegel, professor of theology at Dallas Theological Seminary. He has these Theology 101 posts every day. So if you want to quote one of those, you can. You can quote Dr. Spiegel on that. Make sure you give him credit for it. Right? And that here's a way that you can do that. And then personal communication. So let's say, Robbie, you interviewed some of the guys associated with the church, the snake handling church. Personal communication, right? Sam Gomez, Facebook message to author on August 1st, 2017, right? Now, they do say here, are usually cited in the text or in a note only. They're rarely included in bibliography. So you wouldn't include this in your bibliography. You would just make sure you footnoted it. Okay, something this informal. We didn't see notes there, but I did see that somewhere. Let me see. I thought that was in here, maybe. I think it's chapter 17. Yeah, chapter 17 is a very, very important chapter. Probably 17.7, I'm guessing. There's so many things, and so that's just a quick guide. I mean, there's state and local government documents, international government documents, unpublished government documents, pamphlets and report. I mean, she covers everything. But probably 17.7, which is papers, lectures, manuscript collections.
Lectures. So for
So
example,
lectures,
on my Galatians thing,
Yeah.
for this project we got,
yep,
what came to my mind as I was doing that slide was Dr. Shamlin saying Galatians is Romans in shorthand.
yeah, right,
But
So-
I didn't know how to reference it, so I
Yeah.
just didn't put it on that slide.
right. So,
I wouldn't go in the bibliography, it's a personal.
well, but if it's a lecture, it would.
does.
Yeah,
Okay.
so so if she thinks it's something so informal that it only needs a note and not be added in the bibliography, she'll tell you that. But for papers, lectures, and manuscript collections, she has both note and bibliography here on page 198, if
Okay.
you want that, page 198.
That's just, I remember him saying that.
Yep,
And then I've also got throughout my Bible, where I've taken different classes, if a professor says something,
mm-hmm,
as we're going through something, I will say that, and I've got quotes from Bloomfield.
Yeah.
You know, and these are,
that's good.
there's a lot of wisdom right there.
Yeah, that's good.
Um,
That's
yeah.
good. Yep. So she covers it at chapter 17. She goes far more in depth than this has, but this is a great start. I mean, if you can do this, you're going to do very well on your formatting grade. Okay. And mostly you're going to be working with books and a journal here and there, right? Maybe website, things like that. So, that's mostly what you're going to be interacting with. Thesis, dissertation, that's more master's level. Usually you're going to engage with that kind of a thing. Maybe a magazine article or something, but that's mostly. Any questions on that or any other areas that you wonder, okay, how would I footnote this or that?
So, yeah.
I will, yeah. So let's do that. So there are, and then the next thing we're going to look at is the TSBC supplement. Okay, so this is our gift to you. This is our looking at other schools like Dallas Theological Seminary, their supplements, making it our own. Also looking at Turabian and saying, okay, where do we maybe do things just slightly different, in a slightly different way than what she's saying. Or maybe she doesn't say anything about this, but it's native to us because we're a Bible theology school. So we're going to go through that next. But, you notice all this can get, it helps if you have a database of these resources, right? So let's say a lot of times at Tri-State, you might have a class that uses the same book. Like in our theology classes, you might get a theology book and you use it in multiple classes, or a Greek book, or sometimes if you're doing a Bible class, it'll overlap with another class. So it's good to have a database where you're collecting these resources, okay? So I use one called MyBib, and I want to show you that. mybib.com. I'll put this on, let me share the screen for the folks watching this later. Okay, here's MyBib. Now, Gina mentioned Zotero. That's something that will integrate with Word. Okay, like you got to go through the steps to do that, and Microsoft Word Help can help you do that. Zotero.com will help you do that. You do got to download Zotero, and there's a process for like getting it so that it becomes like a tab on your Microsoft Word document. And so you kind of you can open the Zotero app on your computer or your tablet or whatever, and you can, you just enter stuff. It probably, you put an ISB in it and it'll go find it and bring it in, okay? Just like this will. The thing about Zotero is, because it's integrated with Word, there's a little bit more seamlessness sometimes to it remembering, what you're doing. Although it does act quirky sometimes. I don't know if you've found that. Like it can be finicky. It can not be obedient. So I just put that out. That's why I don't use it. I would get frustrated with it because it would override my knowing how I want to format this and how I need to format this, and it wanted to do its own thing. So I ditched Zotero a while back. I use my bib. It does not integrate with Word, but it's a simple copy paste. Okay. So, now I only use this for the full citation and the bibliography. When I do shortened, the shortened note, I just type it because it's short, or I copy and paste it, over and over again from within my document. But if you want to, now notice up here, you've got, notice it's not on Turabian or Chicago, it's on MLA. So I got to change that right away. So I'm going to go and find, or just type it in. Let's see if it'll do Turabian. Sometimes they call it Chicago. Oh, there it is. And I want which edition? And do I want author date or full note? Full note, that's right. So I don't know why it has two full notes. They probably both would work. So I'm just going to pick one. Now I'm ready to go. So I'm going to enter, I can name my project over here if I want. You just click these little dots, rename. We're going to say TSBC project. There it is. Now let's enter my first book. Okay. When I click new citation, it gives me options, most common options, right? So website, book, journal, video, or more. When you click more, it gives you everything. Okay. All the things pop up. We're just going to enter this book in. Okay. So I'm going to find my ISBN number. That's the best way to search it. If you don't have an ISBN number, you can type the author or the title and try to find it. But book, I'm going to select book. I'm going to type it in 226 4307. Nope, 43057 X. Look at that. There it is. Man. Now, it'll tell you if this is credible or shady. Is that really what you're looking for? We're not sure if this is what you're looking for or not. So if you got the ISBN number, most of the time you get the right one. So there's that one. Now, for the author name, just do it. If she has her middle initial with a period, then do it the same way. Middle initial with period. So I had to correct that. They didn't have the period. You can add another author, editor if you need to. This you can change to an organization like Google, like we saw earlier, or something like that, or a human, a person. Here's the title. Now, sometimes in the subtitle, they won't capitalize the right word. So you got to check that. I don't need a period here. It'll do all the commas and periods once it gets going, but just check, make sure everything's capitalized the right way. You do not capitalize prepositions that are less than 5 letters long. This is so technical. You don't need to know this, do you? If a preposition, so about, how many letters? You capitalize about. Within. 4. 2. Right. Now, if it starts a sentence, or the beginning, if it starts the title or the subtitle, you do capitalize it. But if it's in the middle, no. of, no, and. No. So those little words, you know, and they did it right here. Most times they'll get it right. And then here's the date published. Here's the edition, 9th edition. Here's the publisher. Here's the place it was published. Here's the ISBN. If it's an online book, you can check that little box and it'll ask you for the URL, the date access, right? You just enter the info. Okay. So we got everything here. Now, you don't have to fill out every spot. I know some of us like, I got to fill in all those boxes. You don't have to, right? You just need what you need. Okay. And then it gives you a little preview right here. Right? Is that what I expect? Let's see. That's a bibliography preview. How do I know that? The name, the way the name, it's the last name, comma, first name. So I'm looking at the bibliography preview. There's the period. There's the period. That looks good. I'm going to save it. Okay. So there it is. Awesome. You even get rewarded. Awesome. Good job. Got it. Got it. Now, how I want to use it now. So, okay. So I come over here. I find, do I want to copy it as a bibliography entry or a footnote entry? I want a footnote entry. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put a footnote. I don't know if it's going to let me do this or not, but we're going to try it. I'm going to put a footnote right there. It's not going to let me edit on here. So anyway, I put a footnote right there. I'd add it, insert, footnote, boom. Oh, you guys can't see. Oh, yeah, you can see that. Okay. Screen share. You guys can't see that. Let me do this. Oh, I just clicked on an app. Screen share. Here we go. Okay. So I'd come to my document and I'd go, here's Supplement to Kate L. Turabian, a manual for writers of research papers, theses, and dissertations, 9th edition. I'd actually put it right here. And I'd insert footnote, boom. It would give me a footnote and I just paste it. Okay. Copy, paste. And then it's there. So that's how my bib works. It's pretty simple. And then when you need a bibliography, you're done with your paper and you just need to copy a bibliography into your paper. You can download the bibliography. And it gives you Word, copy and paste, you know, however you want to do it. If you need to email it to your professor or print it, you can do that. But that's how you can copy the whole thing and then paste it in your Word document and it'll be all formatted for you. Turabian, okay? And then it throws confetti in the air when you finish your paper. Because you need that. You need the confetti at this point. Right? Okay. So so there we are. That's my bib. Zotero's another one. There's another one. There used to be one called EndNote. There used to be one called Reference Works. So there's all kinds of these things. Just find one that you like to use. Okay. My bib is kind of like the old Chevy truck that you could climb in and work on. There's not a lot of bells and whistles to it. That's why I like it. Some are more like a Tesla. Okay. If you know how to use it and you're comfortable with it, you like it, then use it.
That was far enough.
That was far enough, right? So just find one that you like. Okay. Now, do you like Zotero?
Well, I haven't done a lot of papers recently, but I use Zotero for my notes for my class when I'm teaching.
Yeah.
You know, because
Yep.
I saved them, and if I go back, I want to know where I got that information.
Yeah.
So I'm not as particular because it's just for my eyes only.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used it for our other paper.
Did it work well for you?
It did.
Now, I used it in my master's program, so it's probably better than
Well,
how
I'll
many
do
years
that.
ago was that was about 10 or more years ago now.
I do next
Yeah.
week. There's bibliography.
Okay.
So I did a fake paper.
Yeah.
And just typed those books in there click the, create bibliography, copied and pasted it onto my slide.
There you go. There you go.
know.
Yep.
But I didn't verify that it was done with all the comments and the things.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. But if you told it Turabian, then it usually does it. I
But every
mean,
time you start this, question that, full note, or just author date,
Yeah.
it will ask that.
let me write the name of it, Zotero, because that's not a common word for it. So it's, so I'm just gonna put citing, we'll call apps, maybe just call it apps. Citation apps, that's what it should be. mybib.com. And then you have Zotero. Now I'm just gonna put EndNote, and I think import, let's skip through. EndNote, I think it used to cost something, that's why I don't have it. MyBib is free, Zotero I think is free.
There's citation machine used to. is that
Citation
what
machine,
it
I wonder if Grammarly doesn't have one now, but that one probably costs something.
The thing I like about Zotero, and I don't know anything about the others, is like my books are in there.
Yeah,
They
And
store your
it's
books.
the same with MyBib, like,
Okay.
once you put them in there, they're in there, unless you delete them out. But they're in there, yeah, you don't have to re-enter them every time. And you can have projects, and probably on Zotero too, where, okay, for this project, I use these books, this project, I use these books, so on and so forth. So let's look at this. We're quickly running out of time here on this exhilarating, overwhelming Turabian deep dive. All right, so everybody should have this right here. For folks who are watching this recording later, you can just email me and I'll get it to you. Again, this is another thing your professors are supposed to link to in your course files. They're supposed to have this, like near where their syllabus file would be linked. So it should be available to you, but if it's not, let me know and we can get you a copy. This does not want to go where I want it to go. Look at that. Just keeps, there we go. Okay. All right. So this is our supplement to it. And we cover things like parts of the paper, format of the paper. We talk a little bit about plagiarism in here. Not a lot, just a little bit. Your syllabus is going to talk about plagiarism. You should read that very carefully. So let's just, there's a table of contents, but let's just jump into it. I talk a little bit about the purpose of this supplement. It's to supplement Turabian's book in our context. Most theological schools have something like this where they give you more specifics about what they expect. There are some things that we've put out in the Populi newsfeed that are probably a little old. So I may put this in the Populi newsfeed again, just so it's there for the fall semester and everybody can get it. So parts of the paper, everybody's going to need a title page, a cover page. We talked about that. We'll look at the appendix of this. Actually, let's just do that real quick since we're mentioning it. If you look at the very back, it's the third to last page, I think. And they're front and back. So last page, second to last, third to last. And it should say Appendix A, sample title page. Everybody see that? Appendix A, sample title page. Let me pull that up here. So there it is. So your title should be in all caps. Why? Just to make it stand out. That's just what we do. All caps. Okay. If you have a Greek word in that title, ask your professor, do they want you to put the Greek word in Greek or do they want you to transliterate it? Put it in English letters is what I mean by that. But shouldn't be longer than 48 characters, short, keep it short. And then the second part here, you're just saying, okay, who are you presenting this paper to? The professor in the course. Okay, professor in the course. The school's always going to be Tri-State Bible College. And then this is in partial fulfillment of your degree. So, or your certificate or whatever it is you're working on, micro certificate. So you're in partial fulfillment because it's only one piece of the whole, right? This paper of the requirements for the degree or audit course or micro certificate or whatever. And you mentioned that. And then by your full name and the month and year. You don't have to put the date, the full date, but just month and year. You can put the full date, but just be consistent. Yeah, in your practice. So that's the title page. That's what we expect for a title page, right? A lot of people want to get real fancy with the title page and add color and backgrounds and graphics. That's fine, but make sure you have all that information. Make sure you have the things we want you to have, right? So we want you to have the things that we're looking for. So that's the title page. Headings. This is where students a lot of times ask for advice on this. How do you want me to do the headings or the section titles? Well, we have identified 5 levels. You normally will not get to 5 levels deep on headings and subheadings. Usually 3 is about as far as people go. So the first level is centered in boldface. The second level is centered in Roman type, which is just regular type. No bold, no italics, just regular. And then the third is flush to the left, boldface. That's usually about as deep as you're going to get on headings, okay? And if you need the others, then they're there. All 5 levels may not be necessary for most papers. Any combination of levels, as long as they adhere to the order above. Shouldn't be a comma there. Subheadings are started on the 3rd line after the, I'll show this, 3rd line after the preceding text, double space plus 1 line, while normal text begins on the 2nd line after the heading, normal double spacing. So let me show. So here's a heading right here, citing sources, okay? It starts on the 3rd line after this last part. You see that? 1, 2, 3. And then there's the text starts on the 2nd. 1, 2. That's normal for headings. Well, that's our normal, TSBC normal, okay? Same here. This is here's a first level. Here's a second level. How do you know it's second level? It's not bold. So that tells me, here's what that tells me as a professor. Your bold is for plagiarism. That's not the main heading. That's not the first level heading. The first level heading is citing sources. Plagiarism is a section inside of citing sources. So is quotations. So is biblical citations. So as I'm looking, if I'm just looking through your paper, I'm saying, okay, this whole bit is citing sources. And they've got 1, 2, 3 pieces inside citing sources. Plagiarism. Throughout this document, I mentioned sections in Turabian. It'll say Turabian and then the section, or it'll say T for Turabian and the section. So just, you want to maybe pay attention to those. I'm not going to go into those today. Quotations. If you're doing a block quotation, does everybody know what a block quotation is? A big chunk. So if you're quoting like a big chunk of content from a book, you know, let's say you got F.F. Bruce here, Johnny, and you want to come in here and you're like, well, I really like this whole paragraph right here. I really want to quote. I mean, it's just so good. I can't leave it out. So I'm going to quote this whole thing. Well, that's probably going to take, if it's taking up more than 5 lines here, it's going to take up more than 5 lines probably in your paper. And so if it's 5 lines or more, you have to do a block quote. Okay. Which means, where do we go here? Oh, I'm not even on block quote. Oh yeah, I am up here. A block quote must be 5 lines or more and single spaced. So a block quote, you change from double space to single space. Yep. Hello. And some professors will want you to indent from the right 0.5, like you do when you start a new paragraph, but the whole thing indented 0.5. You just have to ask your professor on that. Because they want, if it's a big old quote, they want it to stand out. And that's just the rule. 5 lines or more, it's got to be a block quote. If it's less than 5 lines, it doesn't have to be a block quote, just normal formatting, put the quotation marks, put the footnote, so on and so forth. Biblical citations. She has some things there. Here is the kind of abbreviations we're looking for if you're going to abbreviate Genesis, if you're going to abbreviate Revelation, if you're going to abbreviate Proverbs. We've got those here for you. This is what we want you to do. We don't want you to make up your own. All right. Those can get a little funny sometimes. So just follow what we've got for you here. And then we've got the New Testament as well. And be consistent. So don't do Matthew with 1 T in one place and Matthew with 2 T's in another place. Just be consistent. And there's the Apocrypha if you're working with that. Footnotes. We've gone over footnotes pretty thoroughly today, so I'm going to skip on past that. But again, we have some things in here that you'll want to read. We talk about the shortened note. If you're dealing with a big project that has chapters, which in undergraduate you won't, masters you might. There's some words about that. Electronic sources. Now, I do have a statement about parenthetical citation. That's that author date style that we didn't really look at in Turabian. There is this allowance. Like if you're really, of course, with the Bible, you can do author. It's not really author date. It's just you can inline quote the Bible. You don't have to do a footnote for the Bible. Okay. Because we're working with the Bible all the time. So to do a footnote every time you reference, that's just tedious. So we're not going to make you do that. So if you're quoting Exodus 34:5, just at the end of the quote, put the parentheses and the period, just put it right in line. Don't do a footnote. Also, but if you're doing another project where you're just constantly referencing the same thing, probably we could let you do that. Just talk to your professor about it. Okay.
You need to differentiate, like, is it NASB or NIV?
You should. Yeah. ESV, KJV, NASB, you probably should do that. That'd be helpful. Talk about some books like lexicons and things like that have abbreviations that are proper. And this resource, the SBL Handbook of Style, will help you identify which ones those are. Okay. So I have examples just like Turabian did, but with some resources that are more biblical in nature. Here's words from lexicons. How would you do that? So here's one of those abbreviations, BDAG. I mean, that's an approved abbreviation for this resource. How would you know that? Well, the SBL style and handbook on style. That's how you know that. Bunch of other examples here. If you're working with like church fathers at all, you would use here. Notice that this is from First Clement. You italicize church fathers books. You do not for biblical books. Why? It's to distinguish. We're talking about the Bible here. We're not talking about the Bible here. We're talking about a book. Like we would italicize the title of another book, but the Bible's different. The Bible is different. We distinguish that. encyclopedias, Bible encyclopedias or theological encyclopedias. We have examples of that in here. Class notes, Dr. John Hanna's notes from DTS, complex citations, kind of got a few of those in there. Online journals or resources, got that in here. So just taking Turabian and contextualizing a little bit for the kind of things that we regularly work with. What if you have a book that has no fixed page numbers? There's rules for that. Okay. Artificial intelligence. Aha. Now we have to talk about this. Okay. So in our new college catalog that's available online, at the TSBC website, you go to students and catalog, college catalogs, the new catalog's uploaded. There is an artificial intelligence policy here now. You should read that, especially if you're going to use it. If you're not going to use it, probably don't need to read it. But if you're going to use it, you definitely need to read it. Our staff reviewed it, our faculty reviewed it, our board reviewed it, it got approved. So, if you use AI, you have to cite it. It's not like it can't remain in the dark, you know. You can't just leave it back here in the shadow. Now, if you used it, if you use ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, you've got to quote that, hey, my information came from this artificial intelligence. That's what I'm engaging with. Yeah. So, and understand, and why that? 'Cause artificial intelligence isn't a human, so we're not, it's maybe not the same Christian ethic that we were talking about earlier, right? Because this isn't a real, but the information that the AI gained from is human work. It doesn't know anything apart from human work that's been done. All the data and things that it reads online, it came from people who wrote it. So you are still engaging with, you're just engaging with a device that can read all that faster than us and then summarize it. But it's still those people's work. And anytime you engage with AI and the professors have been directed, like, you need to give direction whether they can or they can't on these projects. And if you are allowed to use it on a project, you should always ask AI for the sources that it's using to tell you what it's telling you. So enter the prompt in there, okay? Like I did here. Like I went to Gemini. Here's my note right here. I went to Gemini, which is Google's large language format AI. And I asked it in quote, here's what I asked it. What are the values of Appalachians according to Loyal Jones? Question mark. And then it spit out mostly what Loyal Jones has written about Appalachian values, okay? And so this is a Turabian formatted footnote for Gemini artificial intelligence, okay? So I told you I use Gemini. This is the title I gave, the topic, I guess. Here's the actual prompt that I typed in. So if my professor goes and types that in, he'll see what I saw, and he'll know if I'm plagiarizing the AI or if I'm more or less engaging with the AI. Here's the date. Here's the website for the app. Okay. So that's new.
With AI, when you do something like that, is it just searching real quickly the raw data and presenting you the raw data, or is it giving you an opinion or a bias on the information?
It could have a bias. It depends who programmed it. I mean, whoever programmed the AI could have told it how to read the data, right? So it depends on the detail of the programming and the algorithm. So And you can probably read about the algorithm behind Gemini or ChatGPT, but that's a lot of work. So, I would treat it, I mean, right, humans have biases. So if they create an artificial intelligence, guess what? It's gonna have biases too. So you're interacting with that just as you would an author, right? Because and really that's what AI is doing is searching the available data online a lot faster than we can, and then bringing you a report on what it found. Okay. That's why it's important to ask it for sources. Okay, where did you get your information? What are the sources for your response? And then it'll give you that. Usually it'll give you those. Or it will admit that there's, no, solid sources on this or that. It's just, but usually they're going to have to produce something, whether it was a blog or a website or a book, and that's an ebook, but it'll usually give you sources. Any questions on AI, artificial intelligence? Okay. Bibliographic entries. Okay. When you do your bibliography, it should be in alphabetical order. Okay. I'm going to give you this paper. This is a paper I wrote. Okay. This is a shorter version of my master's thesis that I tried to get published and they said no. So I'm going to give you a copy of this. I still may publish it someday, so don't go publishing this over the internet. So I'm still working on it. But if you look to the back with the bibliography, okay, very back, you'll notice that it's in alphabetical order. This is page 23. Okay. Unless I made a mistake. Okay, it should be page 23 and then alphabetical order. Now your citation devices, these apps, they'll do that for you. They'll put it in alphabetical order for you. But you want to check it, make sure. Little word about, let's see. Oh, there's a note here about using the M dash rather than the N dash, but you'll have to look at Turabian to see what I mean by that. There's these dash, there's different sizes of these dashes. There's like a hyphen, an N dash, and an M dash. And so when to use which one, there's rules about that. Capitalization and spelling. I've got a little glossary for you on Bible words, theology words. Here's a little example. If you use the word scripture, you capitalize it, or Bible, you capitalize it. But if you say scriptural, that's an adjective. You don't capitalize it. Biblical, don't capitalize biblical, you capitalize Bible. Messiah, yes. Messianic, no. Those in dashes and numbers, little section on that. Punctuation of Bible passages, some examples of that. Here's Genesis 1:26 through 27. That is not a hyphen, that's an in dash. Between numbers, you're supposed to use an in dash, not a hyphen. Oh, it's just glorious, isn't it? Formatting, it's just so wonderful. So wonderful. But again, the key to some of this, if you can't remember everything, be consistent. Don't do hyphens here and in dashes there. Just do the same thing. Be consistent. Professors want to see consistency mostly. They want to see you do it right. But if you're not sure on something, just do it consistently. Okay. So that's that. Charts and graphs. let's see. Sometimes you can use color. Some people are colorblind, so that's not going to help. So you might want to have other ways to distinguish what you're doing on charts and graphs. Hints and tips on style. These are just little things that you can take a look at. Now, there's, if you were not at Tri-State Bible College, they would be telling you to use BCE and CE, before Common Era and Common Era. What's ironic about that, you guys have heard this before? That universities don't use AD and BC anymore. They use BCE and CE, before Common Era and Common Era. We still use BC and AD. What's ironic is, guess what the differentiating point between BCE and CE is? It's still the birth of Christ. So it's like a whole lot of to do it. We didn't change, we didn't move years forward. It's still the turn of the century, which is basically organized around the birth of Christ. So if you want to use C, it's just before Christian era and Christian era, right? What, I mean, if you use CE and BC, that's fine, or AD, BC. That's not gonna bother anybody here. When you have like this might be real helpful. When you do First Peter, we prefer that you use 1 Peter, not Roman numeral 1 Peter. Okay. And then here's those capitalization words. We just gave you a big list. Okay, so this is what we want you to do. If you're speaking of different things, you know, the Antichrist is capitalized. Antichrists, not apostle or apostles. Don't capitalize apostle or apostles, but capitalize the 12. So that's a specific group, the 12 apostles, or just the 12. So just, you know, there's a lot there that you can use. Sometimes you're writing, you're like, do I capitalize this or do I not? I don't know. Well, we try to anticipate that in this to help you. So you don't have to wonder, should I capitalize that or not? Any questions on those words that you've wondered about? Should I capitalize or not capitalize? A lot of it's, I mean, you already know. This is just sort of maybe affirming something you already knew. The word, if you're talking about the Bible or Christ, capitalize it. If you're talking about now, if you're talking about the words of the Bible, you don't capitalize it. We're talking about the Bible as the word, capitalize it, or Christ as the word, capitalize it. Yeah, so a lot there. Okay, that's it. That brings us to the end. It's 4:54. We've got I wanted to show you a mistake I made in my paper. So I can show you. I was reading through this like, oh, there's a mistake. So at least I looked through it. Now, let's just look at a couple of my footnotes. Look at page 2. And this also shows you how to place the footnote, okay? If you have, if you're writing a sentence and you have a period here, where does the footnote go? Inside the period, outside the period? Outside. All right. Always outside a period. Okay. What if this is a comma? Outside or inside? Outside. Outside on commas, it's still outside. What if it's a semicolon? Inside. Semicolon's the trick. Semicolon goes inside because
That's a new
you're
statement.
beginning a new statement. So the footnote has to go inside.
It's statement.
Yeah, yeah. That's a tricky one, those semicolons.
That's because they're weak in that there.
Playing tricks with us. All right, so.
Just don't use them.
You don't have to read them. You can find a way to avoid them. All right, so in this paragraph right here, I guess I gotta pull it up here so everybody online can track with me. Okay. All right, so right, this paragraph right here. Okay, everybody see it right here? My footnote 3 is right here. Okay, now I'm sorry, you're gonna notice things because I had to turn, this was a British journal. So British people do things differently than that. They use single quotes, not double quotes. You're gonna notice some, so I maybe should have thought about that before I gave it to you. But so you'll see there's a single quote mark here. Americans use double quotes. The Brits use single quotes, and so you if you notice some odd things in this, I'm sorry, it's because it was sent to a British journal. So, but anyway, so here's a footnote. There. And then let's just, and you can go down and see that there's Larry Hurtado, full note there. And if you add something to the quotation, like see, I added these brackets. You can do that. You just got to say at the end of your full quote, brackets mine. That's my material. It's not his, it's my material. Okay. And then you can add little comments at the end of your footnote. So like if you want to engage a little further with, well, let me say something, I want to say something else about this. You can do that. You don't just have to put the footnote. You can say more in the footnotes. Okay. You see authors do this all the time. They have like big old paragraph footnote down there. You can do that. There's an encyclopedia entrance that was from an online encyclopedia. Now let me show you where I messed up. Let me find it. All right. See, here's my use of a shortened note right there. You can tell that's a shortened note, right? Where is it? Oh, I see. I saw another mistake. I didn't put I didn't put brackets mine in the right way there. I needed to do that. So that's a mistake. Where is he? Here it is. All right. I've looked at this 3 times now to try to see if I really made a mistake or not. This is the first time this author's mentioned. What's wrong with that? It's not a full note. It's the first time I've mentioned Barker in this paper. And I went straight to it. That's not even a right short note. Because I didn't give a shortened title.
But there wasn't there something up there that says from this point on, I'll point to code or,
That was about this book,
Typology.
typology,
yeah.
which I was consistent with that one. But this is I think, now I looked kind of fast for it up above, but I think it's the first time I mentioned Barker right here. And it's not a full note. I didn't bring a title in, so I must have been in a hurry. I don't know what I did. But so all that to say, we're all going to make mistakes in our formatting. The goal is to, how can I get better this time? How can I improve this time? And I hope that today has helped a little bit. And for those who are watching the recording, we'll try to maybe put a link to it in the news feed and folks can watch that. But that'll end our time today. I'm going to ask Pastor Robbie, will you close us in prayer?
Well, Heavenly Father, we come to the closure. class today. We thank you, Father, for the opportunity to learn. And the way, Father, that we can express ourselves and our ideas better. We pray that you'll be always true to your word. And Father, we pray that those who are lost, those who say, those who come to them. For all this we ask in Jesus' name. And amen.
Amen.
This is helpful.
I'll
Thank
say
you.
one thing, if you see something weird, that British thing, it really can be different. So if you notice something weird in here, check it with this, okay? Because this is an American system, Chicago, okay? And then so is our Turabian supplement. Okay, so just because you'll probably notice some squirrely things in there. All right. Good. Good. I'm glad.
Please has been asking me, and this is the blind leading the blind. Oh.